Hey everybody. So there's a lot that there's a few things I want to talk about. One about how there's a huge push for authenticity, right? And when I say authenticity, what do I mean by that? I mean the expression of your true self in any now moment, right? So the expression of the true self, that could be you moving through anger and rage and being present to how that feels. And by moving through that, then you transform that to anchor a part of yourself that is who you are at the core center, right? There's who we've been conditioned to, and then there's who we are, right? At our being. And what I've been seeing is there's this aspect and witnessing, and when I say witnessing, this is within myself and the collective, and there's, when we have an attachment to something, for example, if you've come out, let's say, of the closet and you say you're gay, and it took a lot of fight within inside yourself, to come out, a lot of courage. But say you're now at a point where you may be seeing someone of the opposite sex and you may be attracted to them. And because you have a certain attachment to what it meant to come out of the closet, or this identity of gay, that it's hard for you to accept these other aspects of you that are asking to be freely expressed and acknowledged. And this can take so many forms, right? This can take an expression in job, right? In what we thought we wanted to express ourselves in. Say, if you are in the corporate world and all of a sudden you're like, hey, know what? I don't want to be in the corporate world. I actually want a job where less stress. And it can also be on the other aspect where, there's a part of you that, an expression of a spiritual practice you wanted, but it's actually turning out that that's not an authentic part of you anymore, or that part is actually asking to be expressed in another kind of maybe 9-to-5 kind of way. And so to really allow yourself to ground down to what your heart is calling you as an individual, right? And how we can see that is when we witness other people, when we see, notice our judgments, notice what we think. Because sometimes even the disgust that we have towards someone, that disgust is actually a projection of a part that was not okay for us to express. So, for example, I can say this, I'll use an example of myself. Sometimes I get so mad that people take more, that there are takers in the world, and and that they don't actually, there's not a balance, right, to their taking. And now I understand it from a trauma response, and I also understand it in an energetic way. And so for myself, I tend to be a giver. So when I'm over giving, right, it attracts people that overly take, just on an energetic level. That's why the codependent, kind of narcissistic, the giving and taking kind of find each other. It's because both of them need to kind of embody more of the other energy. And what happens a lot of times is either what that person is displaying reminds you of someone that may have hurt you in the past, an abuser, or it could also be that that when you showed that aspect of yourself, it was deemed as not okay by other people, as greedy, as being selfish, right? And so when we see these aspects, and that's the same with anger. If you see angry people around you all of the time, sometimes it's a hint that you actually have a whole bunch of unprocessed anger inside of you that has been so hard to accept and acknowledge just because of the pain of what that emotion means to you. And so this is really, like, these times are kind of asking for an examination of truth, of honesty, of courage to really see where in your life that there is calling for a freedom of expression. And I'm not saying, say, all of a sudden you may have, you may be, say, in a relationship with someone and you start to have feelings for the other sex or maybe somebody else. A lot of times, so this doesn't always mean you have to cut it off with that individual. Sometimes what you're craving from outside of the relationship is a symbol of something. A symbol of freedom, a symbol of more play. And from the attraction towards maybe someone or something else, like, how can you integrate that into what you already have? Is that possible? Or is it just that maybe you've outgrown the situation you're in? These are all questions to ask, to inquire. And I say this in relationship, but this is in whatever relationship you have with people, with your job, with the place that you're living, like all the, any kind of relationship that you have, the relationship with yourself, how you may be using distractions, whether food as a way to create joy in your life, or video games, or any kind of other way that like an addiction, or these could be showing you, not could be, a lot of time with addiction, it's shining light on something that's hard for you to accept within inside yourself, whether positive or negative, or seen as positive or negative. The fact is, if you're having some kind of addictive behavior, you deem whatever it is as negative. But yet on a soul level, your soul is asking you to really integrate it more into your life as your everyday experience. So how can that look like with anger, right? Allow yourself having time to express anger in a healthy way, and give yourself a sense of safety. Create a sense of safety to do that. The Louise Hay anger release is a really awesome meditation that helps create a sense of taking any stigma out of anger, and gives you a healthy place to express it. And then, this goes along with how we think whether sexuality should be expressed, how we think money should be made, what play looks like. There's all these attachments that we have created, or even spirituality. What does spirituality look like? For me, when I say I'm spiritual, what spiritual means to me is the authentic expression of your soul as an individual. Not necessarily that there's not the same cookie cutter expression for everyone. And so that's why I love when I work with individuals. It's so unique to what their soul is asking to be integrated into their human experience. Not necessarily like, oh, well, everybody do the same thing. No, everyone is so unique, and what that authentic expression is very unique to everybody. And it's through giving yourself time to inquire what that looks like. Sit down and take out a pencil and paper and ask. Like, it's called automatic writing, where you kind of just flow with whatever comes to you. Ask, okay, higher self, what would like to be expressed right now? And kind of let these ideas kind of flow and see what comes up. Or you could also do it in another way. Be like, okay, universe, please show me 3 symbols in a row of what my heart expression would be right now. And look for signs throughout a day that are clear signs of like, all right, this, like, maybe you see 3 signs showing dancing, right? And it's like, okay, then how can you incorporate dancing a little more? That doesn't mean you have to just go out to ecstatic dance or any kind of dance and just kind of like jump right into it. You can if you want to, but you could also go home, shut all the doors, shut all the blinds, put on your favorite song, and just start moving your shoulders, moving your body, allowing yourself permission to do that in a very sacred way, and even private way for yourself. And so that is what I have for you today. And there's another thing I want to say about this as well. As there's a lot of fluidity around gender and sexuality, and it's such a free-forming thing that a lot of people, it's very fluid, and especially at a soul level. If you have lived many lives, men and women, the fluidity of whatever soul part of you is being embodied at that time, it can take different expressions. But I also want to say this. At this time, we have accepted this idea, or most of us have, a lot of us have accepted this idea that it's very much with gender and sexuality. But there's this aspect that it goes beyond that to a sense of culture as well. I'm someone who has very many lifetimes in the Jewish community. Lakota tribe is something that very resonates with me. And so as that comes online more, the expression of that, finding the sweat lodges and stuff to give yourself permission to connect with that part that wants expression, even though, right, you look at me, I have German, northern kind of heritage, but the soul part of me wants to express those aspects of connection with the earth, right? And what we're moving into is, as we connect more with this one love consciousness, soul expression, these ideas of connecting with others beyond what we have chosen as our avatar, in this aspect of one love, in this aspect of connection beyond black, white, Asian, men or women, kind of, yes, there are certain experiences that we can relate to because of that, but then there's also, it goes way beyond that. And as we start to more ground down aspects of our soul, this idea of connection of the heart is, goes way beyond any of these characteristics, any of these subgroups, these identities that we tend to identify with. And so the more that we're connecting with the heart, the more that the healing is going to go beyond these boundaries, the more that it's actually the experience of human that we're connecting on. And that is, it's going to go beyond all of what what we deem as things that separate us. It's going to be a celebration when we let our guards down to heal, to connect, to experience the color of the heart, the expression of the heart versus or gender, sex, whatever. Sending y'all much love.